Welcome to the Lifestyle U podcast. I'm your host and health and fitness coach, Jenna Altman, and I'm so glad that you're here. Health and fitness don't have to be that complicated. Do you want to achieve a body you're proud of, gain physical and mental energy, and grow your confidence without giving up date night with your partner or starving yourself? The Lifestyle U podcast will provide you with the tools that you need to make your health and fitness fit into your lifestyle, not the other way around. The stories, lessons, and actionable takeaways from original episodes and guest interviews on this podcast will not only allow you to break through those limiting fears and beliefs, but also find freedom and confidence in the way that you move and fuel your body so that you can live your strongest, healthiest, and happiest life. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lifestyle U podcast. Before we dive into today's topic on 3 reasons why your diet might not be working for you, I want to really take some time to clarify this definition of the word diet. A lot of us have come to know this word as maybe something that's a little bit more negative, and in reality, this word actually has multiple meanings. I can't tell you how many times someone has asked me, "What diet are you on?" And a lot of the time, this question comes as a result of me looking a little bit more toned, or me ordering a salad out at a restaurant, or me saying no to dessert just because I'm full. I bet that you have probably experienced this too. It's like as soon as you decide to make a healthy decision, everyone assumes that you're on some kind of diet. And this word, I want to make sure that we talk about it here because it has been misconstrued by society to only mean one thing. And for a lot of us, we know diet as a way of restricting calories, a way of removing food or taking food away from us. And yes, that is absolutely a definition of the word diet. In this podcast, I'm going to make sure that we try and use the words caloric deficit because that is truly a little bit more narrowed down of a definition of diet. And so that means taking away food, right? However, the term diet also means, according to the dictionary, the kinds of foods that a person, animal, or community habitually eats. So that basically means all of the food that you consume on a daily basis. That doesn't have to mean that you are in a diet. It is just the way that you eat food. Also, on where the terminology actually comes from, the word diet comes from Greek. It's from the word dieta, which actually means a way of life. How much more abundant do those definitions of diet feel to you? I don't know about you, but that just feels so much more refreshing to me. And somehow we have these 2 different definitions that honestly kind of contrast one another. Yet we only focus on the concept of taking away food in the diet as we know it. I know for me, as soon as I was able to shift my narrative of what it meant to focus on my diet, so many more things changed in my life for the better. And what I mean by this is I started to view my nutrition or my diet as a way of life, as a way of fueling my body so that way I can participate in life the way that I want to, so that way I can show up for the people that I love, so that I can show up for the activities that I want my body to be able to do. And also, just to be super clear, you can be on a diet where you are taking food away. You can be in a caloric deficit if that is something that you are trying to attempt. And that's actually what I want to talk about in this episode is a caloric deficit. But first, I just wanted to clarify that there are multiple definitions of the word diet and making sure that we're using the appropriate term here when we're talking about a caloric deficit. So the next part of this episode, we're really going to dive into all about a caloric deficit and 3 reasons why your diet isn't working for you. You've probably been on a diet before and you've probably been frustrated by it. Maybe you've convinced yourself that you just don't have the metabolism like you used to, or that you should probably just cut out all carbs and all your favorite foods. Or maybe you've even said something like, "I gain weight just by looking at food." I definitely know that I have said all of those things in my own journey. And maybe you've been on this diet train for as long as you can remember. But maybe there might be some user error. And I say that really nicely. I don't mean to call you out, but I'm kind of calling you out because we often like to blame these external circumstances or these external factors on maybe why we're not losing weight. But to be honest with you, there might be some things that you're not doing correctly. And that's okay, right? You didn't go to school to learn how to diet. You didn't learn all of this stuff about going through a caloric deficit and what that should look like. Whatever you learned was probably something you read on the internet or heard from your mom or heard from a mentor, right? Like we were not taught these things. So it's okay that you have been making some mistakes. So today, I want to talk to you about 3 reasons why your diet might not be working. Okay? So the best part about this episode is that I'm going to also not only tell you maybe some of the errors that you're making, but also ways to make this more sustainable for you if you are on a diet or if you're thinking of going on a diet. Okay? So, number 1, you are not consistent enough. You are not consistent enough. This was definitely one of my biggest problems that I had whenever I entered a diet. And really a lot of that came from the fact that I was hopping from one fad diet to the next. And maybe this is you. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, I've tried this diet, I've tried that diet, I keep trying all these different diets, hoping to finally lose those last 5 pounds. Or maybe you're someone who eats pretty healthy Monday through Thursday, and then you're really struggling with those weekend temptations. If so, this might be a really good time to reflect on how consistent you have truly been in your attempts. Simply put, consistency is the foundation to this process. If you take a sustainable and measured approach, it will take time. It will take time. I know that we have seen all these different gimmicks. We grew up in a society where we were told that we can lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks or 10 pounds in 72 hours, right? We've been told these things before. But we all have done that before, and we know what happens. We gain the weight right back, right? So instead, what if you committed yourself to the process for 6 months, for a year? Give it time, my friends. See where that leads. So, little reflection here before we move on to number 2, but where can you find more consistency in your approach? Okay? Where can you find more consistency in your approach? Number 2, you are restricting yourself too much. Maybe you eliminated your favorite foods because you are afraid that you will derail your progress. Or you cut your calories down to 1,200 to see if the scale will budge just even a little bit. Well, we often want the things that we can't have. And yes, that includes the foods that we have mentally banned from our diet. This can often lead to some binge eating episodes where you find yourself overeating on all those foods you eliminated or making up for those calories you restricted. So, here's my reflection piece for you. What foods can you add back into your diet in moderation so it feels more sustainable for you? All right, now we have number 3. This one is really important, and probably of all of the clients that I have worked with, this is probably the number 1 reason why their diet is not working for them. And it is everyone's least favorite reason as to why their diet is not working for them. Okay? Number 3, you are not ready for a diet. I know this is probably not your favorite, but it could be true for you. So definitely consider it. So when your body is going through a caloric deficit, really I like to call these more of in this case scenario, we're talking more about like a chronic diet. So someone who has been dieting for a really long time. Naturally, during these phases, during a diet phase of any kind, there is stress placed upon the body. Your body cannot differentiate the diet stress from the stress that you are experiencing in your work, in your relationships, in your personal development. Your body doesn't know the difference, okay? So the body just perceives this as stress. So your body enters survival mode to protect itself. And guess what it does when it's protecting itself? It holds on to any stored fat in case it needs it to survive, which most likely is leaving you very unhappy with your many attempts at dieting. This is the true piece I want you to think about. Have you spent 5, 10, 15 years on a diet? That might mean that you may need to spend more time at your maintenance calories and or go through a reverse diet phase to optimize your biofeedback. When we talk about biofeedback here, I'm talking about sleep, hunger, stress, digestion, energy, recovery, and just overall movement. When we optimize our biofeedback, that prepares our body for a future caloric deficit. So your reflection here is, how long have you been dieting? Does your biofeedback tell your body that you are safe, or is it painting a different picture? To be honest with you, I have experienced all three of these things in terms of why my diet hasn't been working for me. I have struggled with consistency. I have restricted myself too much, and there were so many times that I was not ready for a diet, whether that was physically or mentally. But I want you to know that there is hope. Maybe it's just time to take a new approach. And this time, I want you to find an approach that is full of consistency, sustainability, and patience. That is my food for thought for y'all this week. I hope that it is something that you can consider in your journey if you have been feeling really stuck in a plateau in terms of your health and fitness. And I hope that it can be something that gives you hope in your journey. If you found this episode helpful, please do not hesitate to reach out, let me know your thoughts, and feel free to share with someone who might need to hear this today. Thank you for listening to the Lifestyle You podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star rating and review to help others discover the magic we're creating together. If there's someone in your life who could benefit from listening to this episode, be sure to forward it along to them. You can also follow me on Instagram at Jenna Ray Altman for more helpful content, resources, and good vibes. As always, thank you so much for being here.